And now, look, everything you say is judged and looked at through a microscope, and then, they want to accuse you of something. Do you know how many times I've been called a racist? But then it's like, wait, Black people can't be racist. Yeah. Wait, depends on who you talk to, depends on the day, depends on the topic, because it's all just a free-for-all. There's a lot of money being made by people claiming racism and sexism, and I'm a transphobe also, apparently, because I'm sticking up for women's sports and don't think transgender athletes should be so that automatically.
Are you saying you don't have an irrational fear of trans people? It'd be transphobia.
Please help define all the things for me. It's different every day.
So you start seeing the shift literally on election night, and then most people that have a red pilling, although it sounds like you were already conservative, but that are waking up to something, there's usually a series of events. Did a couple things then happen in a row, or was it just all kind of connected to the Trump thing?
You mean at ESPN?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that. And then one of my former colleagues, Jemele Hill, went on a little rant about Trump on Twitter. Next level rant. And then people think she was suspended because of that. And that's not why she was initially suspended. It was because of what happened a few weeks later when she was saying, well, listen, if you have issues with, some of these race issues in the NFL, well, then you need to boycott the products. Mm-hmm. And when you tell people to boycott a league, when we have a partnership with them, that's why she got suspended. And that's what led to her demise at ESPN. And she's certainly gone on to do her own thing and successfully. I guess it's all relative.
I switch. Just sorry to interrupt, but I saw her at LAX airport a couple years ago with Michael Jordan, not basketball Michael Jordan, the actor Michael Jordan. She was wearing shoes that had to be $10,000 shoes. And I was like fur. They were furry. I had never seen anything like it. And I was like, she's complaining about capitalism all day long, walking in the airport with Michael Jordan with her fur shoes.
The hypocrisy is thick.
Yeah.
I think, when we were in Connecticut, she bought a Maserati, and that's what she drove onto campus every day.
That's tough.
Go get it, girl. That's what I'm saying. But just don't be hypocritical on the other side. She came from nothing. And a single mom, I believe, I think her dad was in the picture. She's come from so much, and she is brilliant. She is. I've always respected her. We used to be friends. I respect her game, man. I really do. But we just need to be consistent, I think, with some of the points that we like to make. And
do you think I don't want to make this all about her, but do you think she believes a lot of that stuff? Because I think there's a certain set of people that are the true believers. And then there's another set that are like, oh, that's the road I can go down to become relevant.
She wasn't like this when I was friends with her. She wasn't. We just had a good time. She was doing First Take and really she's a writer, a very talented writer, and then got into the TV thing. And we had some great, awesome conversations through the years. And I miss that with her because she had experienced life very differently than I did as a young girl. And I loved those conversations. I grew up with, I just feel like the best possible childhood. Yeah. No money, military, you're not going to get rich in the army, right?
Yeah. Right.
But two parents together, 53 years now. I'm so blessed and I realize that, but I so respect and want to learn from people who grew up differently. And I loved learning about that from her. So it is what it is. I don't care who she voted for. I don't care. It's just that human part that, if I based my relationships and friendships on politics, my circle would look very different, Yeah. And by the way, I think that military upbringing is where that stems from, where to me, it is the most diverse place where, there's so many different races and it just didn't matter. Green, blue, white. We had neighbors who were Norwegian on this side and from Turkey on the other side. Kids, nobody spoke each other's languages, but we figured it out. When we moved, we cried,
Is that the weird thing that's happening now more than anything else? You mentioned the thing about how you treat people and everything else. And I absolutely believe that. And it's how I try to live my life. And I think it actually is what most people believe.
I do too.
And they just don't know how to connect that to the craziness of social media and everything else that's happening culturally.
I think there's a fear to do it. Yeah. And now, look, everything you say is judged and looked at through a microscope, and then, they want to accuse you of something. Do you know how many times I've been called a racist? But then it's wait, Black people can't be racist. Yeah. Wait, depends on who you talk to, depends on the day, depends on the topic, because it's all just a free-for-all. There's a lot of money being made by people claiming racism and sexism. And, I'm a transphobe also, apparently, because I'm sticking up for women's sports and don't think transgender athletes should be, so that automatically
means
I'm transphobic. Are you saying
you don't have an irrational fear of trans people? It'd be transphobia.
Please help define all the things for me. It's different every day. So I hate the way that as a company, ESPN chose to go. Because when our new president, I still say our, right? When the new president came in, I think it was 2018-ish, 19, I don't remember. He was like, we don't need to be mixing politics and sports. He's great. Jimmy Pitaro, great.
Mm-hmm. But was it too late at that point?
No. Some things had happened, and the Jemele Hill thing had happened, but then that president was ousted. There was whole drama around John Skipper's departure. And then Jimmy came in, and it was like, listen, this is how we're going to do it. What did Michael Jordan say in the 80s? Republicans buy sneakers too. It's very simple. Don't we want everybody to watch our network? Don't you want everybody to buy your products? Why are we you're not going to make money. It's not a good business model. So he came in and really changed that. And there was a directive that we don't mix that.
So then what happened that it went the other way? Because then 2 years later, suddenly we got BLM logos on NBA court. I know they're at least partners, not fully controlled equally. But what happened then that every time I turned on SportsCenter, being like, okay, I could try to do this again, it was all back. It was all race and gender and the rest of it.
COVID, pandemic, and George Floyd within 2-3 months of each other. And that was it. And literally, I remember watching one morning, watching First Take and watching a bunch of people on there, Maria Taylor and a bunch of people on, and there were tears and, just anger and yelling and screaming. And I remember going, what's happening here? That's it. And unfortunately, that was the case because you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube once it's out. And if you're a white executive telling a black talent, how to, you can't do this here. Well, then, unfortunately, I think, first of all, there are certainly cases of prejudice and racism that exist everywhere. I mean, hello, as long as there's humanity, it's going to exist. And it can go it doesn't matter what color your skin is or where you're from. It's always going to exist. So stop with the end racism. That's the goal, but let's be realistic, right? Number one. But number two, there are people who took advantage of the situation. And I don't even need to mention names. I think if we follow some of it, sports news, you can feel that. And people took advantage of that moment, which breaks my heart because there are cases that do need to be exposed. But now, if you just ask a question, you're done. And I think that's heartbreaking because then it's like that boy who cried wolf. What happens when there is a moment where someone was treated poorly because of their skin color? And again, it can be against white people as well, as I think we've seen and people choose to overlook, you know. I hate that I have white friends who just want to have a conversation, want to ask a question, but there's total fear and there should be. Absolutely. So that's why now I'm like, I feel like I have a unique perspective from being biracial and being raised by a white mother and a black father and really close to all of my family.
The funny thing is, even though I've heard you talk a million times, I actually didn't know you were biracial, but it doesn't shift anything. I only judge you by what you say. I understand what you mean at a biographical level, but you gonna say what you say?
I just know what it's like. Yeah. I know what it's like for both sides. My mom's family, and it turned out great years later, but my mom's parents disowned her for Irish, Italian, Catholic from Massachusetts for marrying a black man. Made my mom at 21, 22 years old choose between them and this man that loved her and she loved. So first of all, that's real courage, right?
53 years in now.
Yeah, right? I mean, they're the bar for me and for my siblings for sure. And so to see that and the courage it takes on both sides, if anyone really is bored, on my X handle, it's been pinned for 6 or 7 years. NFL Films did this amazing story on initially on my brother who works in the NFL, but then it turned into a story on my parents. And I learned a lot about my parents and those tough decisions they had to make in 1971. Thanks to this NFL Films piece. It's beautiful. So my perspective on courage is maybe different from others based on, again, my experience and my parents' experience. So I look at some of the complaints that are out there right now and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Stop. we have gone backwards. Like my parents talk about it from that era, coming off the civil rights era, to now.
Well,
what people complain about. It's like, what?
Well, we're basically the same age. And it's like, there was nothing cool about racism or hating gay people in the 80s and 90s. Like, it's not to say everything was perfect, as you said, but it's like, it was largely done. And now we've reversed that.
By choice.
So,
By choice. I've been saying this. I feel like there's just way too much money to be made to leave racism alone. You look at it everywhere, but that's certainly what's promoted on social media. That gets you clicks. There's too many people out there making money. I think I saw, I forgot which article, but a congresswoman from Texas, was that today, where she came out and said that Black people should now not pay taxes.
Oh yeah, we covered it on my show this morning.
Reparations.
Yeah, reparations and not pay taxes. It's a pretty sweet gig.
Shut up. Stop it. You're making a fool of yourselves. And once again...
You mean you don't want some of my cash?
I'll take some of your cash because you got real cash. However, what are we doing? Because the implication is that we're not able to, it's just like affirmative action and the voting laws in Georgia. I go crazy because we want to be treated equally. But then here, give me this because I'm not able to go earn it on my own. I can't. And so I saw true love in my household growing up with mom and dad, and from my aunts and uncles and cousins on both sides. In our family reunions, the 4th of July, my parents would have a big bash. You didn't know who the hell was with whom. All these mixed babies and all over the place. Yeah. And I love it. Isn't that America?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we claim it to be, this big melting pot? But so many Americans are choosing to push these narratives and choosing to divide us further. And I'm just not going to be quiet about it anymore because I think it's BS.
If you're looking for more uncensored opinions from today's thought leaders, check out our media playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.